part of our truck. And yeah, you're going to get overlapping lines. You got to really concentrate here and just do your best to include all the parts, visualize stuff. Okay. And again, we've got thicker wheels here, so remember when you draw the back edge of your wheels, go back a little, a little ways. Don't go too thin with it. So somewhere in that neighborhood, I think, is what you want. Same with this. And again, use the other wheel for reference if you need to. Okay? So, all right, yeah, that's just a lot of overlapping lines. So, just do your best to kind of get that how you need it. Okay? Let me pick up my computer here. All right. If you heard that sound of something falling, that was my computer. Okay. We're back in business here. Okay. Now, the other thing we have to consider is over here on the right-hand side, there is a small little window area, little cockpit kind of area where the driver sits. And that's just a separate little box on top of this box. And it kind of is tucked underneath this part here. Actually, I may have made that a little too tall. Let's make it a little smaller. Like so. Okay. All right, now the next step is to start to, again, tighten up some more of these forms. Make sure that all of our lines are parallel and connecting and everything's lined up. And at some point here, you're going to want to do your subdivisions for your ellipses that are going to comprise your wheels. Make sure that I'm staying straight here. All right. So remember, you subdivide on the front and the back. And you really want your ellipses to be uniform, same size. Remember, and you want to fill up the whole square, right? You don't want to do an ellipse that doesn't touch the very edges of your subdivisions here. If you're doing a square that, an ellipse that doesn't touch the edges of your squares and it's not filling it out all the way, then you're just not doing it correctly. And you're going to get weird, misshapen ellipses. Okay? And you don't want that. All right, so you got one ellipse on the front and one in the back. These wheels might be a little thick, but they're pretty close. So somewhere like that. And then we're going to do the same for the front wheels. You can do the diagonal divisions if you need them. If you don't need them, you can just do the, the vertical and horizontal subdivisions. But again, keep those arches nice and smooth and everything uniform, right? This wheel should be the same as this wheel. If they're not the right size, or if they're too compressed or squished one way or the other, you got to go back and redraw your squares. There's just no other way around it. Alright, so you want nice parallel arcs on the front and back, like so. This little wheel cover that connects to the bumper overlaps the wheel. All right. So this is slowly beginning to take shape now. It's starting to look like a truck. We just want to, again, make sure that everything is parallel as it should be in the proper place. And remember, you got to draw your back wheels, even though we're only seeing the very bottom of this back wheel here. We still need to draw the whole thing. All right, and this more or less lines up with the photo reference, where you're only really seeing the bottom of that wheel. Okay, and also on this edge here we have two little exhaust pipes. So what I do is I just draw two squares that are parallel, and you're going to just draw little height boxes for those. Subdivide them. Then, when the time comes, you're going to do your ellipses and make little cylinders out of them. All right. Okay. So now is the stage where you can start adding in other surface details. There are three little indentations on the back section here. Go ahead and lightly sketch those in. We can tighten those up later. Okay. We've also got on the front wheels here, or on the sides rather, we're going to draw a smaller square in the center and do a smaller ellipse for the center of the wheel hub. We're going to do the same thing for this one. And we also have a front grille here for the front of the truck. And then, you would count how many segments you have. I want to say there's 5 or 6. Just kind of count those out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then sketch those out. Again, keep everything parallel as closely as possible. We also have some details here on the front bumper, some further segmentation. Okay, so things are starting to take shape. All right, now we're just tightening things up. We also have treads on the tires, and this is the part where people get a little intimidated. Again, you're just going to count how many segments, and I want to say there's like 18 of them if I remember. Don't quote me on that. You want to count for yourself. And you'll just want to kind of space those out, draw little dots. Like I'm doing here. Almost like the numbers on a clock. And project horizontal lines going through the tires, parallel to everything else. And then just draw your treads. They kind of do this thing where they almost have like a slight triangular shape to them, and then they kind of stop in the center. Like so. And sketch those in. And then you would do the same for the front wheel. Kind of just roughly suggesting the inside of that other wheel. Make sure you're doing it the correct way. All right. And basically from here on out, it's just a matter of looking very closely at the reference, adjusting, tightening, darkening lines, adding details where necessary. You know, double up on your lines where you need to, for like the window frames on the windshield. Again, keep everything parallel. And just anywhere else where you have details, you want to closely match. And if, you know, later on, if you need to, you know, write the Tonka logo here on the side. You know, I don't want to go through every single detail here because this video is already long enough as it is and you guys are probably falling asleep. But I think you can see where I'm taking this. And you're just going to continue to measure things correctly, project through where you need to, make sure all of your construction lines are visible. Right? And eventually you will have your Tonka truck. We've also got some more details here in the center. This little star shape. There's also writing on the tires, which, you know, I wouldn't worry about until, that's like the very last thing you worry about are these little surface details. Just make sure the structure of all this is correct first. These two